So far our data model doesn't do anything, so I'm gonna add a item manager that's gonna help adding, removing items in our to-do list. Okay, so I'm gonna create a new test class. I'm gonna call it item brand because it's the brand of our program, and make sure I have the correct target, and move the file to the model folder inside the test folder, and remove these functions. We don't need those. Before moving on, I usually write out a list of what kind of function I want in my data model, so I have a clear goal of what kind of functions I should write. So my to-do list need to keep track of number of items, and you need to add items. You need to check items, meaning when you check, you need to delete it from your active list and put it on your done list. Now I'm gonna write my function, my test function. The very first thing I need is a variable count to keep track of number of items I have in my list. The first thing I need to do is create an instance of my item brand class so I can access the class variables, and I'm gonna have a count inside it. I'm gonna pretend I have a count already. So I'm gonna write item brand .count and set it to count item. And then I'm gonna use the assert test to test if it equal to, I'm gonna set it to 1 first. It should be 0. But I'm gonna make it fail first. Because I don't have an item brand class, I'm gonna create one. Just a brand new Swift file and name it item brand with a capital I. I'm gonna move the file to my model folder. And click the test class, so it will show up on the left of my window. And then option click on the item brand class, so it's gonna show up on the right. Oh yeah, and don't forget, the first thing you need to do is testable and import your own app. After that, write your own class, because I'm gonna have the class name and the file name be the same. So class item brand, and set a variable equal to 0. That's easy enough. And press test. It should build, but it should fail. And it failed because it should be 0, but we give the number, we compare it to 1. So we're gonna build it again, and it will pass. Now let's check back our list. What do I want to do next? Yes, I want to add an item. So, gonna write a new test function. Give it a name, anything you want, but you have to put a test, T-E-S-T, lowercase. Otherwise, it will not test your function. Create another instance of item brand. And then pretend I have the function add already. And the add function is gonna take in an item of a type to do item. So I'm gonna grab a to do item and use it to make a new item. Now that I added an item, I need to make sure that my count is increased by 1. So I'm gonna do a assert test and test my count. with a number. I'm gonna make it fail. Since it's gonna equal to 1, I'm gonna make it equal to 0. Another thing you can do is to make it to 1, but in your function, just don't do anything. So have like an empty function. It's the same thing. In both cases, it's gonna fail. So I put a count plus equal to 1, and then build and test it. It should fail. So and I'll change to number 1. On second thought, I think my way is incorrect. I should have just write a function and do nothing, and then make the test to compare to 1, and then add a count plus equal to 1. But this function, but the test is easy enough, so I'm just gonna leave it the way it is. Now we need to make sure that when we added a list, it's actually added and we can read it. So this test, I'm gonna test that the item can return the item that is entered. Now that we added the item, we need to make sure that the item can actually be read. So I'm gonna write a test to fetch the item that we just added. I'm gonna use a function called getItem. It's not a function that we have, but in my imagination it's there already. So, and the getItem is gonna use an index from array, because user can tap on the table, and whatever they tap is a given index. We're gonna fetch that and use an assert equal to test the name is actually returned. Now I'm gonna write a function getItem, and we're passing an index, and it should be a int. It's not gonna return anything, and this part is not entirely correct. I shouldn't write anything yet. I should just leave it blank and just test the function and let it fail. And my assert equality comparison is correct right now, but it's alright. Okay, and so I skip to the next step. I need to return an array, but I don't have the array, so I need to create an array. I'm gonna call the array to do item and set it to empty. Now that I have an array, I should add something to the array, because right now you have nothing. Okay, so I do a append array in my add function, and add a new element. We already have an item that's passed into this function, so we're just gonna grab that with a item. And command U to test the new function that we wrote. Actually, I'm gonna change the item to 0 and make it fail first. And then change it back so it can fail, and now it can pass. make it fail first and then make it pass second. Okay, now we need to add another test function. It's called a check item. So when we finish a to-do item, we can check it off. So do the same thing. Write a instance, create an instance of the function, and add an item. And I'm gonna call item brand check. Call the function check function. Add an index 0. Gonna pretend I have the check function already. And I'm going to check the count. Actually, I'm gonna check the count and the done count. So that I'm gonna actually add another variable. So now I can check how many to-do items I have and how many items I have checked off. So there will be 2 arrays. I'm first gonna add in the done count variable and then create a function check. And the function check is going to take index as an int, and it's not gonna return anything. And when we check an item, the count goes down by 1 and the done count goes up by 1. So 1 goes down by 1 and 1 goes up by 1. Now gonna run command U to run the test. Okay, I just realized when I was doing the previous test, I forgot to make a fail before I make a pass. You should do that, but too late for me right now. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the next function. It's gonna call check remove from to-do item. So once I use the check function, I want to make sure the item is actually removed. I added 2 items, item 1 and item 2, so I can remove item 1 and check if the item that is left in my to-do item array is item 2. So I wrote an item brand check at index 0, and I'm gonna use assert equal to check for the remaining item. Okay, I ran the test. And I have an error. Okay, it's telling me what is returned right now is item 1. So it didn't get removed. So that's our step 1, make it fail. Of course it's gonna fail because we didn't write anything for the check yet. So the test drive the development. The test drive your code. Now I'm gonna add the remove. So it's gonna be my array to-do item and then remove at index because I passed in the index number to be removed, and then test the code again. And it passed, so we're ready for our next test function. Now that we know the item is removed, we want to check if the check item, the remove item, show up in the done item list. So what I need to do now is add an item, check it as in delete it from the to-do list, and then now it should be in the done list, so I'm gonna grab the list from the done list using the function get done item, which I don't have. So I need to go to the right side and create that get done item, and it will return a to do item, and I will get it from the array done item, which I don't have, so I need to create it. So it is kind of weird that you just kind of assume you have everything already and then slowly see the compiling error and then add the things that you need. So I see an error again. Okay. Wrong type. So what did I do wrong? Oh, I forgot to put a colon after the variable name. Now run the test and see if it's gonna compile. Okay, we got an error here. When you're doing a test-driven development, you actually want to see errors. It's telling you what you should do, so you don't really have to think. So let's look at the bottom. The index is out of range. Let's see, how can I fix this? So when I check the item, meaning when I remove the item, I did not add it to the array done item list. I mean the array done item array. So I need to append this array. And I'm just gonna copy and paste the removed line above it, because the remove actually gonna return the value of the element that you removed. And I'm gonna run the test again. Hopefully this time will pass. Okay, I sort of got the same error again. Let's see, what did I do wrong? Oh, I left the remove array to do item remove there. I forgot to remove it. So I have two removes. So I'm removing two items instead of just one. Okay, I just remove that line of code and run the test again. You should pass this time. Okay, it doesn't pass. Let's read the item. Read the error message. Item 1 doesn't equal to item. Okay, so all we need to do is change to item 1, because that's the item that we added in. Okay, let's run it again. Okay, this time it passed. Now I'm just gonna add my final function. There's gonna be a remove all, so remove everything, the to-do list and the things that's done. Gonna create an instance of item brand just like before, adding two items in, and then check a list off. So what I have right now is one item in the item list and one in the done list. And I'm gonna check the count property and the done count property for my class to see if there is error. When I remove all, nothing should be there, so it should be 0. And the test should fail because I didn't do anything yet, and it does fail. And actually, my mistake, I made two mistakes. I didn't actually type remove all. I need to assume I have a function remove all and call it and run it first, and then realize that I don't have a remove all, so I'm gonna go to the right side and add that in. And I'm gonna run the test again. And let's see what happens. Oh, the code failed. I wonder why. 1 doesn't equal to 0. So let's go back to our code and figure out why. Yes, I didn't do the count equal to 0, but actually I'm not gonna do that. So I just realized we don't need count because we have array already. I can use the method inside the array. There's an array count, so I'm gonna use computer property for these. So whenever I want to get count, it's just gonna fetch number of elements in my array. Okay, and run the last test. It's gonna pass. And that's it. You can look at your code and realize there's a lot of duplicates, and you can go ahead and refactor them if you want, but you don't have to. What I did is when I create an instance of a class, I move it up on top and initialize it in my setup function, so all my test functions can use it. And that's it. My next video will be on UI table views.